Number 8, public session. Anybody have any comments?
I do, Mr. Patrick. Mr. Genesee, the chairman of the airport board.
Airport committee of the county board.
Okay, were you aware of the motion that was going to be made to appoint Don Bennett to the airport board prior to the meeting last night?
Chairman.
To the chairmanship? Were you aware of that before the meeting? How about you, Mr. Helsley?
Well, I don't have any comment on that.
No, I didn't think so. Some of the reports we got that it was going to happen before it happened was just a fluke, is that right? How is it when Jake Payne was the chairman of the airport board, he's told he can't vote except to break a tie? And now you guys passed a resolution to let the chairman vote. What changed? No comment? I think what you people did at the airport last night is based on pure evil.
I can answer that. It was because people said that they should be able to vote. It was brought up at the study session, and we decided that if the committee of the airport decided that the chairman could vote, they would change it to where they could vote.
Okay.
In the past, they weren't voting.
And I appreciate your response, and I concur with that. I would also concur that the chairman of this board is supposed to vote too. I think what the people did at the airport last night is based on pure evil. Mr. Genesee, I believe you allowed your hatred for Mr. Bogue because of the continual reference about breastfeeding to directly influence your position against RSB Aviation, and that is wrong, sir. You've expressed that position to enough people, it's public knowledge, and it clearly reflects on your lack of integrity in doing what is in the best interest of the county, and clearly reflects negatively on you. You knew a blind ballot was illegal because the AG proved that with the 911 board, but for some stupid reason you think it's okay to do the very same thing at the airport. What makes you think it's okay for the 911 board, but it's not okay for the 911 board, but it's okay for the airport board? Anybody?
Yeah, Augie said we could do it.
Augie said you could do it.
That's not what he said.
That's what I was told.
Is Augie your legal counsel?
No, he's not.
Okay. Have you read the Open Meetings Act?
Yes.
You have. You have your certification and training.
No.
You have 90 days to comply with that in accordance with the law. If you read that, you would realize you can't do blind ballots. I've not seen the recusal letter from Mr. Patrick, so I don't know what specific language is in it, but it's safe to assume, based on the resolutions passed last week, that he's made the decision to not vote on highway-related matters as outlined in the resolution. Is that correct? No comment? Okay.
This is for you to comment, not me.
That being the case, Mr. Griffin, is it asking too much to ensure the records reflect he has recused himself when a vote tally is taken on those matters? For example, if a measure passes with 4 yeas and 2 nays, the record should also reflect Mr. Patrick's recusal. I reference that because the OMA specifically outlines vote tallies shall be recorded. That means everybody's vote. I know there's been claim by Mr. Patrick specifically at the highway meeting he doesn't vote unless there's a tie. Are you still of that position, Mr. Patrick?
We're listening to your comments.
All right, no comment. Well, that's what you emphasized at the last meeting. Well, sir, that is incorrect. It doesn't conform to law, and it doesn't conform to Robert's Rules of Order. Now, this board, the first board of action that you took was to accept and adopt the Robert's Rules of Order. Correct? No comment again. There's only one circumstance in the county code. You don't recall? The very first meeting you guys adopted Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes, we did.
Yes, you did. The county code, the only exception that a chairman cannot vote in counties over 450,000 populations and under 3 million population, the chairman shall be elected as chairman without having been first elected to the county board. Such chairman shall not vote on any question except to break a tie. That's silent. If there's no outline anywhere that says that's the case, Mr. Patrick. I know for a fact the county board adopted Robert's Rules of Order. Safe to assume everybody here has read Robert's Rules of Order. Has anybody not read it?
I haven't.
You haven't? Would you normally adopt things you're not familiar with or haven't read?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, you did. You voted for 3 of his paychecks when he's sitting up there as chairman. Is it true the president can vote only to break a tie, right out of Robert's Rules of Order? No, it is not true that the president can vote only to break a tie. If the president is a member of the voting body, he or she has exactly the same rights and privileges as all other members have, including the right to make motions, to speak in debate, and to vote on all questions. It's not just to break a tie. I request that your recusal, if that's what you're calling it, or refusal to vote or whatever it is, be recorded in the record in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, and I don't think that's asking too much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
This is pretty much a rehash of last night, so those of you that were there will be familiar. I talked about attending Airport Advisory Board meetings that occurred a year ago and then further back. And Rusty came home one night and said, you know, Dad, there wasn't anybody at the Airport Advisory Board meeting. And I did say to him, he was puzzled, he didn't know why. So, but I thought at the time, the reason that happened was because people didn't know or didn't care, or they approved of the action that was taken by the Airport Advisory Board. The last year or so, people are better informed. Now they know, now they care, and now they don't approve of what's going on at the airport. Issues that occurred over the last 12 months. Things that were brought up by the airport manager. The issue about breastfeeding. Yes, there was a meeting, and yes, it was said, and now the entire board says it wasn't. That isn't true. There's even a video clip that Jimmy Wells was interviewed by a TV station that can clear that matter up. I didn't realize that, but I did offer to take a polygraph test to Chris Patrick or Jimmy Wells, and so far they don't want to do that. Other things up there, Jimmy canceled the lease after I came to a county board meeting. He blocked an airport hangar door with a snow plow to prevent Rusty's customers' plane from leaving. He got together and concocted a plan to lock Rusty out of the airport on the January 1st, 2013. Jimmy hasn't paid rent for 5 years for his airplane he kept in the main hangar, which is exactly next door to, or in the same room that Rusty had his business where he was paying rent. Jimmy doesn't collect rent from Rusty. The last 6 months, he's refused to take $700 a month in receipts. Jimmy doesn't keep records or contracts current. Documents at the airport date back to 2008. The amounts that people are supposed to pay for rent are not current, so there's really no way to tell if the guys getting all their money or how the money is being handled. Jimmy hides his financial records, and this goes back to the CD discussions and etc. He also refuses FOIA requests. He doesn't participate like a professional should. Well, the point of reading this list is that the voters aren't buying what you're selling. The voters have lost confidence in both the Airport Advisory Board and the County Board. How do you explain to the guy on the street that has to pay his rent at the end of a month that the airport manager won't accept rent? Now, the thing about this is, any one of those items would have caused an investigation, would have caused a typical county board to say, hey, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. That hasn't happened. It's been going on for 6 months. It hasn't happened. So the point here is that you folks can say what you want to say amongst yourself, and if you only talk to each other, that's all you're going to get is feedback from each other. But I have been contacted by a great number of people, and they're not happy with what's going on here. I think Jeff Floyd had it right in the meeting that I recently attended. He said that he was concerned about public opinion. I think that's a good thing. Thank you. Thank you.
A month or so ago, maybe 2 months now, or maybe longer, there was a request for a copy of the CD that was gifted to the airport that became public property. The second was gifted. And when Mr. Patrick and Mr. Wells put their own personal names on the CD. The CD did exist. It still does exist in a cash form, although Mr. Patrick disagrees. He claims it doesn't exist now that it's cash. We still don't know how much it was and where it went. We didn't get the answer. And a couple other items. Mr. Wells has personally gained monetarily from his position at the airport by converting some of the telephone long-distance calls to a multi-level marketing company that he was operating at the time. He still receives packages from another multi-level marketing company. Lisa Gill still receives packages from a multi-level marketing company. All of those violate the county employee manual or code or whatever you want to call it. And Mr. Patrick benefited financially by selling concrete while he was a member of that board out there. Jake Payne benefited by getting paid to do repair work while he was a member of that board out there. When are you guys going to ask any questions? You're just going to let everybody get by with breaking the law, violating the public trust, and you don't give a damn. It's ridiculous.
I'd rather you not use profanity in this meeting. I'm going to ask you to leave.
Damn is protected speech.
Once more, and I'm going to ask you to leave.
So you're restricting my First Amendment rights?
Absolutely not. I'm restricting the language you're using.
That is protected language under the First Amendment. So you're restricting my rights to free speech.
You heard what I said.
Good. I take it that was restricting my rights to free speech.
You heard what I said.
So, with that being said, I'll conclude my conversations and we'll deal with that later.
Anybody else?
I had a couple, my name's Elliot Abel. A couple questions about last night's meeting. Dan, I know you wanted to present the new lease contract to the board today. I had a question for you guys, Mike, Ben, Dan, last night. Did you guys decide to do that today? I cannot remember. To present that today?
Yeah, they did, I believe.
I would like to, yes.
No, I don't think they actually decided to present it today, though. But it was Mr. Patrick that asked you guys to get the show on the road, hurry up, we want this done. Why is it not done today? New business contract? I'm just asking, I really want to answer this.
You wasn't at the meeting?
I was, but I don't
If you was at
remember.
the meeting, you would know we made a motion to the effect that we was not going to continue with that. And
But why is that? What was the motion for? Something about no commercial operations out of main name?
Yeah.
Is that right? What's that got to do with the business contract whatsoever?
I think you was asking about what the motion was.
Yeah. The motion was, okay, so why do we not have a business contract presented today? Has nothing to do with the,
Business contract was the business contract, was the business that will come into the airport.
correct. Yeah, it was supposed to be presented
Specific
then.
for any business. But
Correct.
because of the motion made last night, then the business contract that three of us worked on for probably 15 or 20 hours is no longer acceptable in terms of some of the people voted on it.
But why?
I disagree with, but I'm
What
just being
constitutes, my question is, the motion yesterday was about the commercial use of the main hangar. What if we wanted to do something on airport property? We still want a business contract or the possibility of it. Why is it not here today? He asked you guys to do that and present it. There's no excuse for that. And I know, Dan, you tried to do that multiple times, to present it to Mark Isaac and to this county board. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for this business contract to not be here today.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I attended the meeting last night, and had I had the opportunity, if it had been last week, I would have had a time to prepare an editorial for the paper. So you're going to get something that's off the cuff, and public speaking is not my forte, so bear with it. At the meeting last night, and Mr. Jennings will report, I'm sure, on what happened. There was a motion to decide that the airport no longer wants a commercial operation in the main hangar and to stop work on the business lease. The position I would have taken in an editorial is that you need to reject that decision. The Airport Advisory Board was charged by this body in January to create a business lease. Simply to say we're going to stop does not meet that requirement. Therefore, if I were sitting on this board, I would then also move to send it back to the advisory board, tell them to finish working on the lease to overcome any impasse that may exist. Secondly, that during that time frame while you're working on it, you will retain Vogue Aviation in its present location, no efforts to move it out until this is all resolved. And third, you would then instruct Mr. Wells to collect the back rent and future rents as they come due, because when this board terminated the lease, you created a month-to-month situation for Vogue Aviation with the airport. You're not meeting your end. That would be the position I would take as an editorial writer for the paper, and it may still here depending on what happens here today. Thank you.